Hi, thanks for joining the show today. On the show, I have Phil Goldstein. He is a friend who I've made through the editing I do for magazines in Colorado. And I read once about his streak, and I'll let him tell you more about it, but I thought it'd be fun to talk to him during these times when we're all trying to keep our health at its peak. Thanks for being here, Phil.
Thanks for having me, Lisa.
So let's talk a little bit about, you live in Colorado, and what part of Colorado and what brought you to Colorado?
I'm in a little town called Timnath. We're just outside of Fort Collins, which many people are familiar with. We moved here in '98, and that year we lived in Fort Collins initially. We were listed as the #1 place in the country to live by Money Magazine. Now, the second year we dropped to #3, so I don't know if that's related to us moving here or not. But pretty special area. We came here from the Midwest. I'm from West Virginia originally, my wife's from Ohio, and it's a wonderful, wonderful place to live.
Well, we live in a town called Wenatchee, and it's made some lists as well. And you always kind of you're proud of your town for making the list, but at the same time, you want to keep the secret about the great place you live so people don't find out about it and move here in the masses. So I get it.
Exactly.
Yeah, so you are semi-retired. Tell us a little bit about your career path.
Well, I started out, as I mentioned in the column you edit, I got a journalism degree initially, only because I was at that age where I was going to do just the opposite of what my parents said, which was to get a business degree as they had, and perhaps join the family businesses. And instead, I got a journalism degree, and immediately faced with no job, I took a job as a bookkeeper at one of my father's firms. Then I went back to school, got an accounting degree, and then I could do more work for them. I did that for 9 years until I became, as I tell people, the only person ever fired by his own father. My father decided that he was closing up that business. There was a recession in the late '70s, and he had another business interest, and he decided to get out while the getting was good. And I had to find something else to do, and through a strange coincidence, I went and visited the athletic business manager at my alma mater, West Virginia University, and he was in the business office, and simply to humor my father and a family friend who said, "Hey, I know you're interested in athletics. They have this sport management master's degree." I said, "Last thing I want to do is go back to school again." So I went to humor him. The day I walked in, 2 people quit the business office in a huff over something. The administration said, "The heck with them." And the gentleman offered me a job on the spot. He said, "You've got business experience, a business background." And he said, you have, by then I was had done quite a bit of competitive distance running, which I know we'll talk about in a minute. And he said, "I need help. You need a job." And he said, "The only catch is, the only way I can pay you is as a graduate assistant in sport management." So he gave me a full ride. And the other catch was I had to coach the women's cross country team. So the rest, as they say, is history. 2 years later, when I had my degree, I was recommended by the athletics director to a friend at Bowling Green State University to head up the athletic business office there, and never looked back. And I had a long career, about 30 years in intercollegiate athletics administration, where my primary responsibility was managing the business operation. I left Bowling Green, went to Eastern Michigan University, and then from there to Colorado State, which is what brought me out here.
Well, so your story of how you got to your career, so many people have a really wonderful story about how they got to their career. And I've read about yours. You throw little speckles of your career into your column, which we all try to do, right? Share a little bit of ourselves. I write a column for the magazines as well. Talk about the streak. I want to, the magnitude of your commitment over the years. You've been athletic all of your life, and explain to the audience what the streak is exactly.
Well, I'll correct you slightly. The streak probably started because I wasn't terribly athletic. I'm 5'8", 130 pounds now. I've always been 5'8", 130 pounds as an adult. I obviously wasn't going to play football, basketball. Most of my friends in high school and even into college were varsity athletes certainly. And all in the mid 70s along came the jogging craze, and everybody was doing it. And so I found something that I thought I could be good at, and I certainly had the temperament for it. I ran a couple races, didn't do very well. I really hadn't trained a lot yet, and I even ran a marathon a year or so after I started running. I ran the inaugural Marine Corps Marathon in Washington, D.C., and it almost did me in. I hadn't trained properly, but I thought I could do it. I did finish, and I finished in a very respectable time, all things considered. So I needed some coaching, and a mentor of mine said to me, you know, if you're going to compete, you're going to have to run every day. You're going to have to run more miles. And he said, you're probably going to have to not miss much training. And so about 1978 or so, I took it to heart, and I started running more actively. At some point in 1979 in November, I ran 7 days in a row. That was probably the first time I'd done that. And I was very proud of myself. I said, well, if I ran 7, why can't I run 14? And I didn't miss any days of running. Back then, all I did was run. I started lifting some weights a year or so later, just for some variety, but I continued to run. And then in the spring of February of 1980, I had a breakthrough. I went and ran the Mardi Gras Marathon in New Orleans, and I qualified for the Boston Marathon. This is back when 4,000 people would qualify, because you had to run a much faster time to qualify. Now they have something like 40,000 because they made the qualifying standards less restrictive. So that was it's a big deal now. It was a real big deal back then. That was my breakthrough. In shorter races, I started to do well. So I thought, okay, this is working. I had also changed my diet. I became a vegetarian at that time, and something was working. So I never stopped. Unfortunately, in late 82 into 83, I started having knee pain, and it wasn't going away. I started reducing my mileage. So I'd run every day for over 3 years. On February 15th of 83, I said, enough is enough. I need to stop and do something about this. The next day, I said, you know, just because I can't run doesn't mean I can't do something. I can swim, I could walk without any pain, I could ride a bike. And so the next day, I started what is now the streak. I subsequently had knee surgery that fall of 83. I had another one 9 years later, but I continued the streak all through this. Sometimes a lot of miles, sometimes not. And I kept it up. I had the surgeries, so I couldn't run for a while, but that didn't mean I couldn't swim, I couldn't lift weights, couldn't bike. Unfortunately, in 2004, I'm sorry, started having hip pain. Finally diagnosed as I needed a hip replacement. So I had a total hip replacement, and the doctor said, look, you can go back to running. He said, but this thing won't last very long. So at that point, I switched in earnest, even more so, to biking, swimming. I managed through, I've had 5 major orthopedic surgeries. I managed through all those to keep the streak going by doing something. The hip thing was the worst, but I bought what's called an upper body ergometer, a thing that you crank with your hands. Had it out in the garage day after the surgery. They released me, and I was on that thing for 9 weeks while I
How long
recovered.
is your streak?
The streak is, as we sit here, it's 37 years, 5 months, 2 weeks, and a couple days. But who's counting? That's the
Well,
current streak.
the reason why I wanted to have you on here to talk about that, and we were wrapping up here in just a minute, but because people, and myself included, make excuses for why we can't get something done. And here you've been through these surgeries and these setbacks, and yet you still manage to do something. I have a friend who lives in our community, Blair McCaney, and he owns Works Gyms here, and he hasn't missed a day. And I don't even know what his streak is at this point, but he does something. Even he had a surgery, like you're saying, and he was still training that day or the next day or whatever it was. So for the people, one last word of thought for the people who feel like they can't get it done, they don't have enough time, or they have some physical things in the way. What is your advice to them?
Well, I think it's excuse making, and that's the norm. For me, this has been with apologies to organized religion. This has been my religion. You of all people know how this is. I've followed since I've known you. All the tragedies you've experienced, you've found ways to prop yourself up, more importantly, prop others up. This is how I've been fortunate. I've not had those tragedies, knock on wood, but I had a very stressful career. And when I did, I found this helpful. It was also something I could do that I could be very proud of, that very few people could do, arguably very few people want to do. So I would say, don't find excuses. I've found, for those who I've convinced, or I've also known who've started an exercise regimen, it's what gets you through the night. It really is beneficial in so many ways.
Well, I wanted to have you here so you could inspire others to get out of their own way and get busy doing whatever it is that will make them feel better and get through the trials that like we're having today. So thank you so much for sharing your story. And maybe this time next year, we'll have you on again and you can tell us how far along you are and what you've learned from that year's streak. Okay?
I'd be very flattered. And Lisa, you keep up the good work that you do. It's very worthwhile, especially in times like we're experiencing now.
Well, thank you so much, Phil. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thanks for having me. Bye now.
My next guest, I found his story on Facebook, and I'm always trying to share the good stuff that's happening around the world, and he definitely is doing some good stuff. So I hope you'll help me welcoming Jakob Zernick. Thanks for being here.
Yep, thank you for inviting me.
I met you I found you through our mutual friend, 3 Wishes for Ruby's Residence.
Yeah.
Our Don't Wait story last year in Arkansas along the tour. So I saw her post about you and wanted to chat with you on the show. So thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you.
Where are we talking to you from?
From Ebensburg, Pennsylvania.
Pretty far away. So, and
yes, very far away.
So thanks for jumping on so quickly. I appreciate it.
Yep.
Tell us about the work you're doing, your organization, and your idea, and how you came up with it. All that you can share with us about Seeds for Needs.
Yeah. So Seeds for Needs. What we do is I grow vegetables and vegetable plants recently, and what I do with the money I earn from selling them, I buy gifts, games, toys, blankets for children that are sick in our area. And I also donate toys to Children's Hospital in Pittsburgh.
How long have you been doing this, and what gave you the idea?
This would be my 3rd year that it's an official business. And it was around 8 years old when I started getting really, really sick, and we were going doctor to doctor. They're trying to figure out what was wrong with me, and nothing was working. I was in a lot of stomach pain, and then we went to Children's Hospital in Pittsburgh, and they gave me the answers that I needed, and they stopped all that pain. So I just wanted to give back to them, and because I knew there were kids that are going through things a lot worse than me, and they help out a lot of people. And one way that they helped me get through it was they would give me toys, or they gave me like a warm blanket to relax in while I'm there getting infusions or at a doctor appointment. So I thought in that way I could help. And I started a garden around that time because I'm very interested in science. So I thought about combining the two with something that I like and to help others. So yeah, thank you.
Well, I was really excited to share your story because I think so much of the good work that we do in the world, people in general, comes from our own experience. How can we help others?
Hmm.
And it's not very often, well, it's becoming more and more common, I think, for young people your age to have that state of mind and have that thought to help others through something similar or make another person's journey less turbulent just by helping and reaching out. So I commend you for your work, and
Thank you.
really just congratulations for your good health. I'm very happy for you that you were
Hmm.
able to get through that. And you feel good today?
Yeah, I barely get any more flare-ups of my Crohn's, so yeah, very thankful.
Well, congratulations on that as well. Well, anytime you want to come back and share your progress and share your story with our audience and just the people maybe that you've impacted along the way, we'll have you back and get to share that part of your story as well. But thank you so much for being here and for all that you're doing.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
Have a good rest of your day.
Yep, you too.
Bye.
Bye.
So what we just saw is the piece that Dave Mabee is working on. Not sure if it's a documentary yet or an episode, but we're showing that clip you just saw was from an episode 3. Thanks for being here, Dave.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's exciting stuff.
You're right up there at the hill right now, obviously.
I'm suited up. I'm in the thick of it. And not only am I shooting the video, I also work day to day on the chairlift. I'm painting, we're moving stuff, mobing stuff up the mountain. So a little bit of everything. It's not quite what I expected it to be doing this summer, but it's been pretty fun.
The one thing that I'll say is, right? There's a lot of things we're all doing right that we didn't expect it. Hopefully it ends up being fun.
Right.
One of the things I wanted to point out to people is, we just show up there in the winter and get to ski. Don't really think about what's going on all outside of the season. So tell us a little bit about what we just saw and the work you're doing and the decision to make these episodes.
Yeah, so this is my first summer up here as well. The plan was to try to do some video around this summer, and then with everything that happened, it was more, we need help with this. So I was helping out on the chair and replacement, and then they're kind of like, okay, we're in a spot where we think you could do some video stuff. And I hadn't really thought about it in a month or two. So I was like, so it was like, go, which was probably good too, because we didn't get to think about it much. So I was planning on being like a documentary, just kind of high level stuff about it. But since I'm here, I work 410s, I'm up here a lot. If something cool is happening, I have all my gear really close by. I grab a 4-wheeler, I grab a little vehicle and I go film it. And then we started using Delcy because she can explain stuff really well. So she's the one she's kind of the host now. So it's become more of like I don't know, like an HGTV sort of like some sort of show. So we haven't quite figured it out, but we're just rolling with it. And people seem to be enjoying it. And all the videos we've seen about chair replacements have just been kind of like the cool stuff, and there's so much cool stuff that it really happens when you see it day to day. I think you don't appreciate it unless you actually film it and you go back and see like, holy smokes, we did that last week. If you just see the end product, like next year, if you didn't see any of this video, you'd be like, oh, cool, there's a new chair here. That must have been a little bit of a project.
A little bit of work, huh?
Yeah, it's crazy. We're using local contractors. So there's like, there's concrete guys, there's all sorts of concrete trucks coming up. It's a production. And if you haven't seen the mountain in the summer either, that's why I'm starting to use just cool things from around here, because it just looks completely different. So just trying to capture all of that. And being that I'm a first timer up here in the summer, there's a lot of stuff I haven't taken for granted yet because I haven't been up here. So I'm just trying to capture all of that. And if I think it's cool, I'm pretty sure or interesting, I think other people will, because I've snowboarded here for the last 5 years. And when you look at some of the stuff, you're like, wow, that's that, like in the summer. So I don't know, it's interesting.
Up there to go on a hike this summer. I haven't ever hiked up on the mountain, when it's a mountain that isn't covered in snow. And I have to say, I prefer the going down a little bit more to the climbing up to that first chair. You're like, wow, you don't realize how much work that is until you're trying to carve it out for yourself. But it is a completely different look when you get up there. You look down and you think, wow, you don't realize to even think about just the terrain and the things that are covered up that you're skiing over the top of. So you're the marketing manager for Mission Ridge, and I know your gig there constantly evolves. So what's a typical day like for you right now, if there is one?
Yeah, right now there's, so I'm painting, I'm doing that. That's kind of my typical day. And then if there's big stuff going on, we know like we have meetings in the morning. So if there's crews coming in to do specific things, I'll either go set up a GoPro on time lapse, or if it's a bigger thing, like I ran up to the top of the mountain this morning because there was actually cement trucks going up there. So, getting some of the pouring and trying to get some close-up shots and different things like that, along with having it on time lapse. So camera's still up there. I just asked the crew guys to bring it down. So a lot of time lapse stuff is just pretty cool to see too, because you can't really capture that stuff like filming all day. So it's a lot of like running, changing batteries, and just making sure you capture an entire day. And the coolest thing is like seeing the rebar guys when they were doing they call it the Shiv shop. It's a gargantuan shop, and it's just like I have days and days of time lapse stuff, and you just see these guys working, and just what it becomes. And people are going to be impressed when this building is the building crew's coming, I think this week or next week. So they'll start erecting the down terminal, the one by Midway, and it's going to be a sight to see. It's pretty cool because it's going to hold all the chairs, and it's just cool to see all that little stuff. Like I said, it's like you appreciate it more, I think, because you see all the hard work that's going into it. And it's cool to work with people here who aren't, a lot of us are doing stuff that we don't normally do, because the winter time's a different job. In the summer, we're just kind of, what do you need? And it's kind of been an awesome bonding experience with people who maybe haven't bonded with too much during the winter, because the winter is just a totally different rat race. So
it's a lot different pace. Where can people watch the episode? Where are you guys putting them, just for people who aren't familiar? How do they get to see these?
Yeah, so the series is called On the Way Up. It'll be on our Facebook, Mission Ridge Facebook page, Mission Ridge Instagram. We're doing them on IGTV. And then we have a Mission Ridge YouTube page. And then we tweet out the shows as well. So, and I've been sharing them on LinkedIn. So if any, we're trying to get them out there as much as we can. And people are asking for them in different spots now. So it's cool. Weren't sure how people are going to like it. And, to see people interested in it, it's been pretty exciting.
Well, very cool. Thanks for coming on and sharing it. I saw it on Facebook and I thought, well, that's something I'd like to share with my audience too, right? Just one more way of making sure people see it.
Perfect. Cool. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Dave. Take care.
Have a good day.